So today we're going to talk about prisms. We're changing shapes, but we're still going to be dealing with surface area and volume. Let's first talk about what a prism actually is. So a prism is going to be a three-dimensional figure. That three-dimensional figure is going to have what we call bases. Those bases are going to be two sides that are opposite each other that are going to be the same shape. They're going to be identical to each other. And those bases are going to be a shape like a triangle, trapezoid, a rectangle, whatever it is. Those two sides are going to be connected by other sides that are going to be parallelograms. Now you got to remember, a rectangle is just a special parallelogram. So you can see in this triangular prism, you're going to have two triangles on the ends. Those are your bases. And it's going to be connected by these three rectangles that make the connections between those parts. Okay. This one over here is a special prism because it's called a rectangular prism. And in a rectangular prism, you can pick which pieces you want to be the bases. You could use the front and the back. That's hard to see though. You could use the left and the right. Those could be your bases. You could also use the top and the bottom to be your bases and pick those two. They're unique because all of the sides are rectangles and all of them match. You can make any two pairs your bases. Because of that, rectangular prisms are usually everybody's favorite. So let's go from here and go to our formulas. Now when you see this, there are three different prisms right here. This is a triangular prism. This has got a parallelogram in the prism. This is a trapezoidal prism. So each one of these shapes is going to be your base when you look at these. So when you look at this, you're going to need to do a four-step process in order to get the answers to these for surface area. You're going to start with finding the perimeter of the base. Now guys, remember the perimeter of anything is just found by adding up all the sides. Y'all can do that. Just adding up all three of those sides. The area of the base is going to be found, and we use a capital B for the area of the base. So that area of the base is going to use a different formula depending on what shape it is. For example, in this one, we would use 1/2 base times height. That's because we'd be dealing with a triangle. If you were doing this one over here, it'd be a trapezoid. That's 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2. But we've already done a test on that. We've already done an entire chapter on area, so that shouldn't be hard for you. Remember though, this is a little bit different. This is not an EOC. You're taking these tests at home. You're allowed to use your notes. You're allowed to use your formulas. So think about that before you take your tests. Now, the other two steps in this process are going to be to find the lateral area. And the formula for the lateral area of any of these shapes is just going to be to find the perimeter and multiply it by the height of that prism. Okay? Perimeter times the height of that prism. The next one is going to be the total surface area. And to get the total surface area, you're going to be taking this lateral area that you already found, LA, and you're going to add to that the two bases. So 2 times the area of the base. So there are 4 actual parts to this that you're going to need, and 2 of these are going to be formulas that you're going to be putting answers down for. This lateral surface area. And then for the total surface area, you'd be using this formula right here, LA plus 2B. Again, depending on the shape, it's going to change this formula every time, so I can't tell you what to put in here. Triangles make it different versus trapezoids. You've got to know that each one is going to be varied a little bit, so these are the generic formulas that you need to know. So from there, let's actually do some problems. We're going to start with a rectangular prism. The reason I start with this one is a little bit easier because you can't really mess up on picking the bases here. I'm going to pick the left and the right side to be my bases. I'm going to color those in just so you can see it really clearly. It doesn't matter, but we have to pick a pair to be our bases in a rectangular prism, so those are the two that I'm going to pick. And we need to go through that 4-step process. That 4-step process is going to be number 1, to find the perimeter of that shape. Perimeter again is found by adding up all the sides. So if we think about that picture of that shape, it's going to be a rectangle with a distance across that bottom of 3 and a distance up that side of 4. So to find the perimeter, you just add up all the sides. Well, in a rectangle, if this side is 3, the opposite side is also 3. If this side is 4, the opposite side is also 4. So to find the perimeter of that shape, it would be 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4. So all you do is add up those sides. So when you add that up, you're going to get a total of 14. Now we need to find the area of that base. It's a rectangle, guys. You know the formula to find the area of a rectangle. It's just length times width. So the length here, we're looking at putting that at 4, the width putting that at 3. So when we do that and find the area of that, that's going to put that area of that base at 12. The next thing that we do in that 4-step process is the lateral area. Okay, that lateral area is going to be taking that perimeter that we have, which we already know is 14. We don't have to do the work again. It's right here. And we're going to be multiplying it by the height of the prism. Now, this is something you need to listen to. Guys, height does not mean that it goes up and down. Height means the distance between the two bases. We mark the left side and the right side as our bases. The distance between those two is going to be this 7 inches that is up here on the top. That is going to be the height of my prism. So when we use it in this formula, it's going to be the perimeter times the height of the prism, which is going to be 7. So 14 times 7 means you're going to be looking at a lateral area of 98. And then to find our surface area is going to be, again, remember, we're going back to that formula. It said the surface area is just the lateral area, so it's going to be that 98 plus 2 of our bases, which again, we already have right here at 12, so 2 times 12 right here. And that means that our surface area is going to be 122 inches squared. We're still doing area, so we're still having square units. Okay, let's do some more of this. Let's do some more surface area with some different shapes. Here we go. Surface area of the next one. First thing you got to do is decide what your bases are. In this case, your base is going to be the triangles right here. Again, we're looking for anything that is not a rectangle. So if you have any other shape, that's going to be your base. Here is your triangle that is going to make up your base, the one in the front and the back. Now that we have that, we're going to go through our 4-step process. First thing we're going to do is find perimeter. When we go to find perimeter, you're going to see that you have this length right here, 12. You have this height right here of this that's going to be 8, so we're going to put that 8 right here. But we have a missing piece, and it goes back to old stuff. Let's see if we remember this. If you know 2 sides of a right triangle, to find the third side, you are going to use an unknown and use Pythagorean theorem. So we now have this right triangle, and we're going to have to go off to the side and do Pythagorean theorem to find that missing piece. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. That would be 8 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. So when we do the math for this, it's going to be 64 plus 144 equals c squared. When you add those two together, you're going to get 208 equals c squared. And remember, to get rid of a square, when we're solving an equation, we take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of both sides, that's going to give you 14.42 equals c. All right, now that we have this other side right here at 14.42, we're going to add up those 3 sides to find the perimeter. We're going to start with the 8 plus the 12 plus the 14.42. That gives you a total perimeter of 34.42. The next thing we've got to do is find the area of that base. Guys, it's a triangle. You know how to find the area of a triangle. It's going to be 1/2 times the bottom of the triangle, which is going to be 12, times the height of that triangle, which is going to be 8. When you take 1/2 of 12 times 8, you're going to get a total area of 48 for that base. The next thing you're going to find is lateral area, but remember, you've already done a lot of the work for this. So when you're doing this problem, you're going to be taking that perimeter, which you've already found right here. It is 34.42. And you're going to be multiplying it times the height of our prism. Remember, height does not mean going up and down. Height means the distance between the front and the back in this case, because those are our two bases. We're talking about the distance between this triangle in the front and the triangle in the back. So the number that is going to represent our height here is going to be the 6. So we're going to be multiplying 34.42 times 6, which is going to equal a lateral surface area of 206.52. When we go to our total surface area, remember, we're using what we already have right here in this lateral surface area at 206.52 plus 2 of our bases, which we already found. So 2 times 48. When you total that up, that's going to give you a total surface area of 302.5, and your unit is going to be inches squared. Okay, so our last one is going to be a hexagonal prism. It's got a hexagon on the top and bottom. Let's highlight that so you can see it really clearly. Here is the bottom part of this. That's going to be a hexagon, and it's a regular hexagon because you can see all the sides are the same. They're marked congruent to each other. They actually have done something that makes this a little unique because they have already given you the area of the base. They've cut out one of your steps. So when you do this, perimeter is our first thing we deal with. We know it's regular because it's got all these congruency marks, so all you need to do is take the length of one of the sides, which is 5.6, times the number of sides, which is 6 because it's a hexagon. And when you multiply that, you're going to get a perimeter of 33.6. The area of the base is already given to you, so they've kind of made it a little bit easier here. They've given you 80.6 for the area of the base. Don't make yourself, do more work than you have to. They've already done the area. The lateral area is going to be found by taking this perimeter that we've got right here at 33.6 and multiplying it by our height of our prism. Remember, the height is the distance between the two bases, so it's going to be the distance between the bottom and the top in this case. That number is going to be 4.2. And when you multiply that perimeter times that height, in this case, the lateral surface area is going to be 141.12. Our total surface area, when you look at it, is going to be done by found by using that lateral surface area of 141.12. And then you're going to be adding 2 of your bases, which we already have right here. That's going to be 80.6. When you multiply that and get your total surface area, that gives you a total surface area of 302.3. And our unit is meters, and they are squared. Okay. So as you can see, we spent more time on surface area because the volume formula is pretty straightforward. There's only one part to that, so it makes it a little bit easier. So let's get started on volume. So volume, using these exact same shapes, is going to be using the area of the base and the height. When you're doing this, you do need to find that B, that area of the base, before you do anything else. That's going to be followed by using the volume. The volume formula is just going to be the area of the base times the height. Again, depending on the shape though, that area of the base is going to use a different formula, so I've got to be careful. I can't give you specific numbers to plug in, but here is the formula for the volume of any prism. Area of the base times the height. As I said, it's always easier. So as you can see on your next three examples, they're the same shapes. We're just finding volume now instead of finding the surface area. So let's get started on those. We did this before by using the sides as our basis, so we're going to continue with that when we're doing volume. So we're going to think of these two as our bases in our rectangular prism. We're going to work this out by finding the area of the base. To find the area of the base, remember, we've already talked about this. Think of the base off to the side. Think about that shape. It's got 3 here. It's got 4 here. It's a rectangle. To find the area of any rectangle, you're just doing that length times width. So it's just going to be that 4 times 3. So the area of the base here is going to be 12. To find the volume, you're just taking that number that you just had, that 12, the area of the base, and you're multiplying it by the height of the prism. We already talked about this before, but we're going to talk about it again. When you're talking about the height of a prism is the distance between the two bases. So in this case, the 7 is our height of our prism. So we're going to be multiplying the area of the base, which is 12, times the height of the prism, which is 7, which gives us a volume of 84 inches. And because we're doing volume, we're talking about cubic units, so it is cubed. 84 inches cubed. As you can see, volume is a much easier formula. It's more straightforward. It's a lot easier for most people to get. Hopefully it will make more sense. Okay, let's do our last two problems today. Our last two problems, again, are going to be the shapes we've already dealt with. We already identified the base here is going to be the triangle. And you can see this time that I went ahead and put the 14.4 on it because we already found that. So I just included that right here. So when you look at this, you're going to see that you have the B is the first thing we need to find. Remember, the area of a triangle is found by doing 1/2 times the base of that triangle. The base of this triangle is going to be 12 times the height of that triangle, which is going to be right here. That height is going to be 8. And when you find the area of that base, you're talking about 48 right here. To find the volume, you're going to be plugging that 48 into your formula and multiplying it by the height of our prism. Remember, the height is going to be the distance between the two triangles. Our height in this case is going to be 6. So we're going to be multiplying 48 times 6, which is going to give us a volume, in this case, of 288 inches cubed. Now, for this last one, they do change it up. They gave you the apothem right here of 4.88. You have to find the area of the base, but that's good because it'll remind you of a formula. If you had to find the area of a regular polygon, guys, we've done this a lot. Don't act like you've never seen this formula before. The area of a regular polygon is 1/2 times the apothem, which in this case is 4.8. They've identified it right there. They said lowercase a, apothem equals 4.8. And then you're going to be multiplying that times the perimeter. We have a missing piece. We've got to find the perimeter before we can finish this formula. So let's back up a little bit. Find the perimeter of this shape. To find the perimeter, you just take the length of one of the sides, which is 5.6. It's right here. And you multiply it by however many sides you have, which in this case you have a total of 6 of them, which gives you a total perimeter of 33.6. Now going back to our formula for the area of this base, it's going to be 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter, which we now just found was 33.6. So if you multiply all that together, you're going to get an area of your base, which is 80.64. So then plugging into your volume formula, again, the volume formula is going to be every single time the area of the base times the height. So the area of the base is 80.64 times the height. The height is the distance between the two bases. Those bases in this case are going to be, remember, these hexagons that make up the top and the bottom, this shape right here. So the height is going to be the distance between that top and bottom, which is going to be this 4.2. And that puts the volume on the shape at 338.6 1.7 meters cubed. Okay, that wraps up our lesson on surface area and volume of prisms. If you have questions, don't forget you can attend the help session for this, and I look forward to talking to y'all.